I remember standing at my grandfather's porch one afternoon, a place that once buzzed with laughter and the scent of freshly baked bread. He had always been the lively center of our family, urging us to chase our dreams, regaling us with tales of his youth. Yet that day, something felt different. The rhythm of the house had changed. My grandfather seemed distant, too tired even to complete his sentences. When I offered to help him into his favorite chair, he waved me off with a sad smile, but didn't stand under his own power. It was as though he had lost some essential spark overnight. Moments like these, when a beloved older adult appears on the precipice of a serious decline, can catch us off guard. We might dismiss alarming behaviors as mere side effects of old age, only to realize too late that these signs point to a critical downturn in their overall health. Today, I hope to prevent such regrets by highlighting 5 key indicators that an elderly person is in critical decline. Recognizing these signs early can spare families from frantic, last-minute decisions and allow the senior to receive compassionate, targeted care. Before we begin, please note that this discussion does not replace medical advice or serve as a definitive diagnosis. If you spot any of these signs in someone you care about, consult a healthcare professional promptly. According to data from organizations like the World Health Organization and the National Council on Aging, many older adults face serious challenges, heart conditions, chronic illnesses, or acute medical crises that become life-threatening if not addressed in time. By learning about these 5 major red flags, you can act earlier, perhaps arranging more comprehensive medical support, investigating hospice or palliative options, or making the environment safer. While conversations about end-of-life matters can be deeply uncomfortable, they can also be acts of profound love. Recognizing that a critical stage may be approaching does not equate to giving up hope. Rather, it involves delivering the right interventions, whether curative or comfort-oriented, when they matter most. Let's now walk through the 5 signs, illustrating each with brief stories drawn from real experiences. If you find these reflections parallel your own circumstances, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section at the end. By doing so, you might help another family navigate this sensitive transition more gracefully. Ultimately, the purpose here is to replace fear with preparedness, anxiety with empathy. Knowing what to look for and what steps to take can safeguard our loved ones against needless suffering. Rapid or extreme changes in mobility. It's no secret that older individuals often slow down physically. Joints stiffen, muscles lose some. An illustrative example. 2 summers ago, Mia noticed that her 86-year-old father, Leon, who had been strolling around his garden every morning for decades, suddenly asked for help just to make it to the mailbox at the end of the driveway. Within weeks, he needed a walker indoors. His legs, once sturdy, could barely support his weight. Leon insisted it was just stiffness, but a checkup revealed he had developed severe congestive heart failure. Because his heart was failing to circulate blood properly, his muscles tired more quickly and fluid accumulated in his lower extremities. That explained the sudden swelling around his ankles and feet. Recognizing the problem early meant doctors could adjust his medication and recommend a specialized diet. While this didn't cure him, it slowed his decline and gave him better quality of life for several more months. Had Mia not insisted on a thorough medical review, Leon might have faced a life-threatening crisis much sooner. If you observe someone you love losing the ability to move around with the speed or stability they had just a short time ago, particularly if it's accompanied by pain, swelling, or shortness of breath, try to schedule a comprehensive medical assessment. Ask about basic daily tasks. Have you noticed you're more tired carrying groceries? When was the last time you could walk upstairs comfortably? Pay special attention if they start refusing to leave bed or skip meals because of the effort required to walk to the table. Sometimes seniors hide their struggles out of pride or a fear of burdening others. Approach the subject gently, emphasizing your concern for their comfort. By intervening quickly, you might find a medical solution, or at least a supportive measure like physical therapy, mobility aids, or a new medication regimen that can keep them out of an emergency situation. Worsening vital signs or persistent health crises. We typically associate vital signs with a quick check by a nurse, heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, and so on. While each reading can vary slightly day to day, a pattern of abnormal results, rising blood pressure that never settles, a frequently racing pulse, or repeated low oxygen saturations can be a stark warning. In advanced age, resilience diminishes, making it harder to bounce back from relatively minor issues like mild infections. If such episodes come more often, and each one seems more debilitating than the last, it could indicate that the body is entering a fragile state. Consider Henry's journey. He was known among his friends for recovering fast from any ailment, but around age 85 he noticed more frequent arrhythmias that left him dizzy or faint. One month he endured a severe cold that progressed into pneumonia requiring hospitalization. Though he pulled through, his blood pressure remained unstable, and within weeks he was back in the ER with fluid in his lungs. After a third hospitalization in less than 3 months, doctors gently explained that Henry's heart and lungs were under severe strain. His repeated health crises were not simply bad luck, they were evidence of his body's overall decline. Friends and family arranged for in-home nursing care and ultimately a palliative approach that focused on comfort. The shift in care goals brought Henry relief from constant ambulance rides and hospital anxiety. By recognizing the seriousness of these repeated crises, his loved ones spared him more invasive measures that would have likely caused discomfort without truly improving his prognosis. If an elderly family member regularly experiences unexpected spikes in fever, alarming heart rate episodes, or repeated hospital admissions for acute conditions, do not assume it's normal. Keep track of how often these incidents occur and what triggers them. Are they happening more frequently than 6 months ago? Is the recovery time getting longer each round? Present these details to a healthcare provider who might adjust medications, recommend advanced imaging, or, in some circumstances, suggest hospice or palliative care. This approach does not mean giving up. It means shifting the care model toward the patient's comfort and dignity. Family members often struggle with acceptance at this stage, feeling as though more aggressive interventions are their duty. Yet, multiple medical professionals stress that when the body shows clear signs of critical decline, less invasive treatments can sometimes offer greater solace and improved remaining time. Noticeable decline in cognitive functions or awareness. While physical challenges can be evident, a serious dip in cognition or awareness can also signal that an elderly person is moving into a critical phase. You might witness them becoming severely disoriented about time or place, failing to recognize family members, or repeatedly forgetting to eat or take vital medications. In some cases, they might have episodes of delirium, periods of intense confusion, hallucinations, or severe agitation, followed by exhaustion. Though dementia itself can progress slowly, sudden or pronounced changes in clarity often stem from pressing issues like infections, organ failure, or metabolic imbalances. Take the case of Dolores, a gentle 91-year-old who had lived with mild dementia for a few years. Her family was used to her occasionally forgetting names or misplacing items. But over one holiday weekend, Dolores stopped responding to their greetings altogether. She stared blankly at the wall, didn't recognize her granddaughter, who had been her caretaker for months, and mumbled incoherently at night as if in a vivid nightmare. Alarmed, the family rushed her to the hospital, where tests revealed advanced kidney failure. Toxins were building up in her blood, triggering acute confusion and delirium. Because Dolores was already in a compromised state, doctors explained that dialysis might prolong her life temporarily, but might also be very distressing for her. After deep discussions, her children chose to keep her comfortable, rather than subject her to invasive treatments. Although the decision weighed heavily on their hearts, they found solace in knowing Dolores wouldn't suffer through procedures that offered little real benefit. If you notice a steep drop in an older person's cognitive function, like suddenly forgetting how to bathe, wandering outside at night, or expressing disturbing delusions, reach out to medical professionals without delay. Infections such as UTIs or pneumonia can cause severe confusion in seniors, as can imbalances in blood electrolytes or thyroid hormones. But sometimes, such mental changes point to systemic deterioration. If treatable causes are ruled out or partially addressed, but the confusion remains or worsens, it may be time to consider a gentler care strategy focusing on symptom relief. Good communication with the person's primary physician or a geriatric specialist can clarify whether any interventions are likely to restore stability. Understanding that critical decline often reduces the chance of a substantial rebound can guide you towards steps that minimize discomfort, like ensuring they are not left alone for long periods, or adjusting medication to reduce anxiety. Significant changes in breathing or circulation. As people advance in age and chronic conditions accumulate, organs like the heart and lungs may start to falter. One sign that a senior's health is in critical decline is obvious or persistent difficulty in breathing. This can show up as labored inhalation during simple tasks, bathing, brushing teeth, or walking a short distance to the mailbox. They might pause frequently to catch their breath, or lean forward, pressing their arms on a table to help expand their chest. Another concerning pattern is the presence of fluid in the lungs, congestive heart failure, leading to a chronic cough, wheezing, or crackling sounds. Also watch for signs of circulatory trouble, a bluish tinge around their lips or fingertips, known as cyanosis, or extremely low oxygen readings if you have access to a pulse oximeter. Consider the story of Gloria. She had managed mild COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, for years, faithfully using inhalers and limiting her outdoor activities on polluted days. Despite occasional flare-ups, she remained stable, yet one winter her oxygen levels plummeted drastically. She could barely finish a short sentence without gasping. Her ankles swelled and she complained of feeling like she was constantly drowning. Doctors discovered that Gloria's lungs had sustained irreversible damage, and her heart was also showing signs of failure. The question wasn't whether she could regain her former strength, but how to make her remaining months as comfortable as possible. By acknowledging that she was in a critical stage, Gloria's family expedited paperwork for home hospice, ensuring she had access to oxygen support, pain relief, and daily check-ins. This shift spared her from an endless cycle of hospital admissions, letting her rest at home, surrounded by familiar comforts. If your elderly parent or grandparent seems perpetually breathless, complains of chest tightness, or has swollen legs and feet that suggest poor blood circulation, encourage them to see a cardiologist or pulmonologist for thorough evaluations. Recognize the difference between occasional breathlessness, maybe from climbing a flight of stairs, and a recurring sense of suffocation, which could be a red flag. If the medical team finds the heart or lungs severely compromised, they may outline limited treatment options. You can discuss whether advanced interventions like surgery or aggressive therapies would truly enhance quality of life, or if palliative approaches are more appropriate. The right choice often depends on the individual's wishes, the risks of the procedure, and potential outcomes. Finding clarity on these points helps avoid panic-driven decisions in an acute crisis. Withdrawal from social interaction and everyday engagement. One subtle yet telling sign that an older person is nearing a severe downturn lies in their emotional or social retreat. It's common for seniors to slow their social calendars, but active withdrawal can indicate a deeper issue. Perhaps they stop picking up the phone for days, leaving friends and relatives worried. Or they might appear disengaged during visits, avoiding eye contact or showing no interest in usual hobbies. When asked how they're doing, they respond with vague, dismissive comments or resist conversation entirely. This behavior can be rooted in emotional or psychological factors such as depression or anxiety, but it can also reflect that the individual senses, on some level, that their body is shutting down. Think of Jerome, a community leader who once organized book clubs, charity drives, and weekend get-togethers. His neighbors knew something was wrong when he missed 2 consecutive library meetings. That was unheard of. When they visited, they found him sitting on the sofa, in the dark, staring blankly at the TV. Polite but distant, Jerome said he didn't feel like talking and ended their conversation quickly. Over the following weeks, he declined invitations to Sunday lunch or short walks. It turned out Jerome had received a grim prognosis about an advanced neurological condition. Though he hadn't shared this news yet, he internalized it, losing the motivation to engage. Recognizing this as more than just an emotional slump, his closest friend urged a medical check. The visit confirmed his condition was deteriorating, and he lacked the energy to keep up appearances. Once they understood the situation, the neighborhood rallied to provide gentle companionship, short daily visits with quiet games or reading sessions, and ensured he wasn't left feeling abandoned. When you see a senior abruptly disconnect from routines, stop calling friends, or show general apathy toward once beloved pastimes, approach them kindly. Ask open-ended questions. "I've noticed you've been quieter lately. Is everything okay?" If they seem guarded, remind them you're present for support, not judgment. A mental health evaluation might reveal treatable depression. On the other hand, if medical tests indicate the presence of advanced cancer, organ failure, or another terminal illness, your focus can shift to comfort measures that respect their apparent emotional state. End-of-life professionals often mention that some people grow inward and reflective as their health declines, preferring minimal stimulation. Respecting this quiet period while also offering gentle presence, perhaps a short chat with no pressure, or reading an old family scrapbook together, can provide reassurance without forcing them to pretend they have the stamina for normal social activities. Sometimes just sitting beside them in silence fosters a profound sense of care. These 5 signs, rapid changes in mobility, worsening vital signs or recurrent health crises, a marked decline in cognition, notable breathing or circulatory issues, and withdrawal from social engagement, often converge in someone who's nearing a critical phase of life. While each sign can appear separately, their combined presence typically suggests the body has entered a state of fragility that standard treatments may no longer effectively reverse. And that said, jumping to conclusions without a professional evaluation can be risky. Conditions like dehydration, low vitamin levels, or certain infections can mimic severe decline. Addressing them might yield surprising improvements. Still, ignoring these signs because of fear or denial can be costly. Some family members avoid discussing ominous changes, worried that speaking it aloud will somehow make it true. However, many geriatric specialists assert that open communication and timely medical consultation are vital. Simple questions like, "What do you want to do if your heart condition worsens?" or "How do you feel about hospital care versus staying at home if another crisis hits?" can clarify the senior's preferences. If they haven't set up a healthcare proxy or living will, now is the time to do so, while they're still able to articulate their choices. These documents ensure that if they do fall into a life-threatening state, everyone understands their wishes regarding resuscitation, feeding tubes, or advanced measures like mechanical ventilation. Moreover, if tests confirm that the body truly is in a state of critical decline, families face important decisions. Should they opt for aggressive medical interventions, knowing the success rate may be low and the procedure stressful, or might they pivot to a palliative or hospice approach that focuses on symptom relief and emotional well-being? There is no universal answer. It depends on the individual's values, the likelihood of recovery, and how they weigh quality of life against possible life extension. Healthcare providers can offer input about the probable outcomes of each path. Many families find solace in knowing that shifting to comfort care does not mean giving up hope. Rather, it embraces a different kind of hope, aiming for as many good moments as possible in the remaining time. In exploring these options, invite the older adult into the conversation to the extent they are able or willing to participate. Fear of losing control can intensify suffering. Reassure them that they remain central in decisions about their own care. If cognitive decline prevents full comprehension, rely on past conversations or advanced directives for guidance. In cases where no directives exist, do your best to infer their preferences based on their personality and past statements about dignity, independence, or faith. The emotional weight can be substantial, and it's entirely understandable to feel overwhelmed. Counseling, spiritual guidance, or support from a hospice team can provide necessary relief. Once it's clear an older adult is approaching a critical stage, practical steps can improve comfort and reduce crisis moments. For instance, evaluate the home environment. Are there trip hazards, such as loose rugs, that could be catastrophic if they're already frail? Adding supportive equipment, grab bars in the bathroom, adjustable beds, ramps for wheelchairs allows them to navigate spaces more safely. If finances permit, consider hiring in-home caregivers who can assist with bathing, dressing, and administering medications correctly. In more advanced cases, a nurse may visit regularly to manage wound care, check vital signs, or adjust oxygen levels. Nutrition often becomes a challenge at this point, especially if appetite wanes or swallowing becomes difficult. Work with a dietitian or a speech therapist to adapt meals, perhaps serving softer foods, using thickened liquids, or offering small, frequent snacks instead of large plates that overwhelm them. If cooking tires them out, plan a meal delivery service or have relatives drop by with prepared dishes. However, be open to the possibility that they might not want much food at all. Forcing meals can create stress. A balance must be found where you respect their hunger cues while preventing malnutrition. Similarly, hydration is crucial but can be tricky if they are reluctant or forgetful about drinking. Suggest water in small sips or nutrient-rich fluids like broth. Pain management is another critical factor. Chronic conditions often flare up in advanced age. Arthritis, neuropathy, old fractures, causing persistent discomfort. If your loved one grimaces or rubs their joints frequently, ask a doctor about analgesic regimens that balance efficacy with side effects. For more severe conditions, opioids or specialized pain patches might be indicated, but always weigh sedation and potential for confusion. Good pain control can dramatically boost mood and enable them to enjoy interactions that might otherwise be overshadowed by constant ache. Mental and emotional support can't be overlooked. In a society that often views dependency as undignified, many seniors feel shame or anxiety about their deteriorating capabilities. Listening without judgment is vital. Validate their feelings. I know this is tough. I'm here to help. If a hospice chaplain or counselor is available, these professionals are trained to handle delicate conversations about mortality, regrets, or spiritual doubts. Some families find solace in group prayer, meditation, or music therapy sessions that soothe agitation. Others read stories aloud, watch favorite films, or encourage reminiscing about meaningful events. Each gesture is a chance to reaffirm that the individual's life story matters, that they haven't been cast aside. Those grappling with advanced dementia or confusion might resist care, feeling violated by strangers entering their personal space. Patient, consistent explanations can reduce their fear. Speak in a calm tone, use simple phrases, and replicate routines daily so the environment feels less unpredictable. If agitation spirals into aggression, consult a doctor about mild medications to stabilize mood. Resist the urge to scold or restrain them forcibly. Consider whether something in the environment, loud TV noises, bright lights, could be causing stress. Gentle reassurance, a soft blanket, or a favorite piece of music might de-escalate tension more effectively than stern words. In addition, families should build a network of support. Invite siblings, grandchildren, or close friends to share the load. Maybe someone handles pharmacy runs while another assists with bathing schedules. Burnout is real. Caring for a critically declining person can be taxing, especially if you're balancing a job, parenting, or your own health issues. Check local community centers or nonprofits for respite care services. Even short breaks can recharge you emotionally so you can return to caregiving with empathy rather than exhaustion. Finally, create moments of connection. Critical decline does not have to be a dark, hopeless chapter. It can be a time of profound closeness where generational stories are passed down, old grievances forgiven, and unspoken gratitudes voiced at last. Some families opt for legacy projects, compiling scrapbooks, recording voice notes, or filming the older adult sharing life lessons. Not only does this serve as a cherished memory for younger generations, but it also gives the senior a sense of purpose and closure. In the face of physical weakness, the heart can still grow stronger in love and acceptance. In reviewing these 5 signs, sudden declines in mobility, repeated or worsening health crises, do not shy away from these truths because they appear bleak. The final chapters of a person's life can still hold warmth, dignity, and mutual understanding. Many families describe a sense of peace that settles once everyone acknowledges the gravity of the situation. Instead of clinging to illusions, they focus on making each day meaningful, whether through a simple cup of tea shared in silence, a reminiscent conversation about old times, or a comforting hand to hold during restless nights. Healthcare providers, hospice volunteers, and faith-based counselors can also be valuable allies, helping reframe the narrative from one of mere decline to a chapter of thoughtful, tender living. If you find yourself resonating with these points, perhaps you've noticed your grandmother's labored breathing when she tries to do laundry, or your father's sudden confusion about his medication schedule, don't hesitate to act. Speak kindly to them about your observations. Gather your siblings for a collective plan, consult their primary physician for a frank discussion. Clarify the predicted outcomes of continuing aggressive treatments if they exist, weigh the pros and cons, and reflect on what the older adult has previously expressed about life support, autonomy, and comfort. Though these conversations can be emotionally raw, having them in a calmer setting far outstrips making frantic, last-minute decisions in an emergency room. In the end, don't wait until it's too late serves as both caution and encouragement. While we cannot control the inevitability of declining health, we can control our readiness to meet it. By spotting these 5 critical signs, you stand on firmer ground, able to coordinate resources, rally supportive voices, and ensure your loved one's needs are met with compassion rather than chaos. As you move forward, lean on the experiences of others. If you feel inclined, share your own story or question in the comments section. Community wisdom often illuminates paths that feel lonely or confusing. In this way, we can transform fear into constructive empathy, forging a safe and loving space for those who find themselves in life's final stretch. If your elder relative is showing any of these alarming signs, gather the family and contact a healthcare professional as soon as possible. No one regrets seeking clarity and planning too early, but many rue the days lost when issues were overlooked until an acute crisis forced a rushed response. With the right mindset and resources, even the toughest transitions can be guided by dignity and respect for the richness of a life nearing its close. Thank you for reading and for caring. Together, we can ensure that critical decline is met with the devotion, vigilance, and love it deserves.